Alright, hello fun and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the Near Future Exploration mod, which is being made by forum user NearT. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a whole load of lovely new parts to really help expand your probe-based missions, and they are magnificent. So let's jump into the vehicle assembly building and have a look at what we do get. Now let's grab ourselves a Mark 1 command pod for size comparison's sake, and then head into Janitor's Closet, just leaving on Near Future Exploration. And of course, we'll start with the probe cores, beginning with the CHFR, which of course is an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel SAS, as well as a battery with 1,000 electric charge. And this thing, if we pop it on here, is pretty cool looking. It is of course quite boxy, but has a load of beautiful details, and like with all the other probe cores you'll see here, it does have different texture options, so that we can either have the sort of bare surface, a gold surface, or of course a silver foil surface, which is pretty cool. And like I said, basically all of these have that, so probably won't show it off from here on out, just cool feature to have. Now the next of the probe cores we have is the CYL, which again is of course an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, but this time a much smaller battery of 850 electric charge. There we go, I got my words back. And this one is quite a bit more circular in nature, but just as much detail. I really do like just all the little bits and bobs to the modeling and texturing of this thing. It is pretty darn cool. Now on to the next probe core that we have, of course, being the DSK, which once again is an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, but this time 250 electric charge because, well, as you can see here, it is a much smaller circular command pod than the previous one. But again, just a load of good little details. I love the cabling there, the little nubbin coming off to the side. It's just nice. Now, after that, we, of course, have the PLTO, which, once again, of course, is an unmanned command pod with data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, and 450 electric charge. And I think this one might be my favorite because it's just such an odd shape we don't normally see in this game. Squares and rectangles, sure. Round things, of course. But this? It's beautiful, and again, just it has a lot of cool, fun detailing all over the place. Now, after that one, we have the REKT, which, once more, of course, is an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, and only 150 electric charge on this particular one. As you can see here, another small, sort of boxy-based one, but with a lot of fun little details there. Again, just very good looking, and just to sort of show it off once more, the different foils. Always good. And then after that one, we have the RND, which, of course, once more, is an unmanned command pod with a data transmitter, SAS, and no reaction wheel on this one, surprisingly, but it does have electric charge of 75, which, yeah, this one's a lot smaller, as you can see here, fitting on top of our command pod perfectly, actually, which is quite handy. And yeah, just another small little probe core, very nice indeed. Now after that one, we have the SQR, which, once more, is an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, and 1,250 electric charge. And oh boy, this one's that's a big probe core, as you can see there. But again, just a lot of cool detailing to it. Not just a box, it's a box with things, and that's fun. And finally, we have the STP, which once more is an unmanned command pod with a built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, and 125 electric charge. As once again, this one does go down to a smaller size, not quite as small as the R&D that we saw a moment ago, but still quite a nice one, and this one actually does have the reaction wheel, unlike the R&D, but another nice, lovely little probe core for you to enjoy. Now after that, we move on down to the fuel tanks category, where you can see we have a number of fun ones here. The first one being the MLT-10 multi-purpose fuel tank cluster, which has a variable amount of fuel depending on kind of what you go with. And if I pop it onto our little command pod here, what I mean by that is this one not just changes its textures like we had with the probe cores. I mean, it does change between either the gold, the silver foil, or the just sort of plain old thing, but as you can see here, those are all still liquid fuel and oxidizer in small quantities of 5.5 oxidizer and 4.5 liquid fuel. But then if you go to this material, well, now it's monopropellant. And then if we go to this material, it's xenon gas, though I'm just now noticing the monopropellant one actually seems to be bugged, as it's showing us liquid fuel and oxidizer here. But yes, at least the xenon gas one is working correctly with 157.5 xenon gas. But quite cool that we can change what it is holding, despite one slight little glitch there. Now, after that one, we have our next tank being the MLT-120 multi-purpose fuel tank cluster, which if you go with the liquid fuel and oxidizer, it'll be 54 liquid fuel, 66 oxidizer. Monopropellant, it should hold 180, and xenon gas holding 1,890. And if we pop this one on here, you can see it is just beautiful. And not only do we get, like I was just mentioning, the different gold, silver, and sort of standard liquid fuel and oxygen tanks, as well as the monopropellant tank, which is properly functioning this time, and the xenon tank, but we also have structure changes. This one is the basic structure, but we can also up it, if I move this down a little bit so you can see it better, to a stack version, so it has more supports for being inline, and then also a compact version without all of the extra support. So very cool to have those visual options. Now after that one, we have the MLT-240, which will hold 108 liquid fuel, 132 oxidizer in that configuration, 360 monopropellant in that configuration, and 3,780 xenon gas in its final configuration. And once again, if we pop it on, it does have those different structural variants of basic, the compact, or the stack version, and then the compact version here, which is all quite nice. I do like those structural changes there. Now after that, we have the MLT-60 multi-purpose fuel tank, holding 27 liquid fuel and 33 oxidizer, or 90 monopropellant, or 945 xenon gas. And once more, if we pop this one on, you can see its different structural elements there, allowing you with those different aesthetic choices. Very cool. Now next we have the MLT-R10 multi-purpose fuel tank, holding 9 liquid fuel and 11 oxidizer, or 30 monopropellant, or 315 xenon gas. And this one is a radially placed tank rather than being in a line, and does not have the different structure options. You are just with the different foils, and of course then monopropellant or xenon gas. But fun nonetheless. We then have the MLT-R2 multi-purpose fuel tank with 1.1 liquid fuel and 1.4 oxidizer, or 3.8 monopropellant, or 39.4 xenon gas in this tiny little fuel tank. Look at it, so cute, it's wonderful, with of course the different things. Now after that one, we do have the MLT-R20, holding 18 liquid fuel and 22 oxidizer, or 60 monopropellant, or 630 xenon gas. Once again, it is of course radially placed, does not have the structure options, just the content options switch here. And finally, for the fuel tanks, we have the MLT-R5, holding 4.5 liquid fuel and 5.5 oxidizer, or 15 monopropellant, or finally 157.5 xenon gas. And if we pop that on there, it is just another bulbous one, but a bit bigger, of course, than the MLT-R2. And yes, just another fun little thing. I do like it. Now after that, we sadly have nothing in engines, which is a little bit disappointing, but oh well. In command and control, though, we do have the micro control moment gyroscope, which is a just really tiny reaction wheel with 1 torque on pitch, yaw, and roll. And yeah, it is really tiny. Look at that thing. This is as far as I can zoom in, and it's just... it is very small, but perfect for, you know, giving a reaction wheel to your smallest of probes. Very fun. And after that, we have nothing in structural, nor robotics, nor in coupling, but in payload. Oh boy. As you can see, we have a lot of options. Now, here's the thing, though, on this. A lot of them are basically the same part, just halved. So, for instance, we have the CHFR bus and then a compact version. So a lot of these I'm going to show off as one sort of card on the visuals, and then just sort of roll from there and talk about a major feature after we roll through them all. But the first one we have is the ADPT bus, which is basically a, you know, converter from one size to a smaller size. And, yeah, it's just a nice part to have. We then have the ADTP 2, which then goes from the smallest size of the previous bus to an even smaller size. And then after that, we have the CHFR bus, a lovely square little thing, matching, of course, with the CHFR probe core with its compact variant. Then after that, we have the CYL bus with its compact variant, all of these being basically half as tall as the main bus. We then have the DSK bus with its compact variant. Then we have the HECS bus with its compact variant. Then the HECS2 bus with its compact variant. Then the Octo bus with its compact variant, which is very fun to have some of these buses for the stock parts. We then have the PLTO bus with its compact variant, and you gotta love that triangular shape. I do enjoy it. Then we have the QBE bus with its compact variant. Then the REKT bus with its compact variant. The RND bus with its compact variant. Then the SQR bus with its compact variant. And finally, the STP bus with its compact variant. Now, if I grab any one of these at random and pop it on here, each one of these buses has the same features, where if we do right-click it, we can change the surface texture of it from the bare to the gold foil, the silver foil, which, as you can see here, on a lot of parts, that texture in particular is kind of messed up. But it's there if you want it. And finally, a truss version, which I think this is my favorite. This is just cool. All of these have the truss version. It's wonderful. And not only that, though, we can actually add an end cap, where either there is no end cap by default, we can have a bare end cap, which if I flip this thing over, there we go, to better see it, we have the bare end cap, a gold foil end cap, or a silver foil end cap. And yeah, no matter which one of these you do grab, it's going to have those same options, as we can see there. Just grab that, and bare, gold, silver, truss, and then the end cap of bare, gold, silver, and nothing. So very cool with all those fun options. And then after that, in aerodynamics, nothing. Ground, we have one thing, which is just a tiny version of the landing legs, the LT9 Nano landing legs, which, yeah, is just a very small version of the standard landing legs. If we do pop it on there, it does, of course, have the option, though, of either being having the suspension enabled or disabled. And yes, lovely little tiny landing leg for your small landed probes. And then after that, we have nothing in thermal. In electrical, though, we have the Z25 rechargeable battery holding, you may have guessed, 25 electric charge. And again, it's just another tiny little part for your probe missions. It's very cool and very small. And after that, we have actually the final category, actually if we just kind of skipped a show, nothing in science, nor cargo, nor utility, but in communication. Oh boy. Again, we have a lot of parts here, so I'm just kind of going to briefly go through each of these quickly, and then talk about the main feature of this mod in terms of communication. So let's start at the top with the AX30 high gain micro antenna, which of course is a data transmitter. and it's beautiful. We then have the AX4 pointable helical antenna, once again a data transmitter, and then the AX5 aerial micro antenna. I'm going to stop saying data transmitter because all of them are literally that. We then have the D2 spot antenna, and then the D50 large spot antenna, very nice there. We then have the DR1 high gain antenna, another small one, and then the DR3 deployable high gain antenna, another fun tiny little dish. We then have the FDA direct antenna feed, and then after that it's a larger cousin, the FRA relay antenna feed. Then we have a very cool looking PH-1 phased array antenna element. And then after that, it's I guess, upgrade of the PH2 phased array antenna element. And then after that, the very tiny PH3 phased array antenna element. Then after that, the RA002 micro relay antenna, very cool little one there. Then we have the RA-0-8 relay antenna, gotta love that thing, very cool looking. And then the RA-5B advanced relay antenna, another cool looking one, very nice on the deploying animation for that. And the RAX1 phased relay antenna, back to the small little ones. And then the RAX2 phased relay antenna, very unusual rectangular antenna there, very nice. Then another rectangular one in the RA-X3 phased relay antenna, losing my sentences there a little bit. And then the RFL-1 dish reflector. We then, after that, have the, oh boy, really large and awesome RFL-100 giant dish reflector. Then back to small with the RFL-2 medium dish reflector. Then after that one, we have the RFL-2000 dish reflector array. It's awesome. And then the RFL-3 dish reflector array, just a small little one. And finally, the RFL-50 large dish reflector. And now you may notice the kind of a difference between many of these, an antenna element or feed, and then reflectors. And this is what's really cool about this mod. If we say grab the RFL-3 reflector here, pop it on and extend it outward, it on its own is effectively useless. Why am I having such trouble rotating this where I need it to be? There we are. On its own, this thing is basically useless. It is intended to be used with one of these antenna feed. As you can see here on these reflectors, they're all just deployable reflectors. And basically what they're going to do is if you point one of these feed antenna at the reflector, it will give these antennae a boost. And that is pretty cool. Each of these little ones will in fact work on their own, but when used with a reflector, they're much more efficient and I believe get a little, yes, an added range boost, which is pretty cool. And now how you know if you're actually properly pointing at one of these reflectors is if we pop on this feed, you can see it has a red line going out into space. That is the direction of its transmission. Now if we, there we go, pointed that way and then angle it up, you'll notice it goes from red to green, and that means it is successfully reflecting off of this reflector, and that means it will get that boost to make it even better. And I love that. It's a cool little mechanic, so you can build cool, awesome sort of antenna arrays with multiple beams all pointing into these reflectors so that they reach their full capacity. And that's pretty awesome, and it just adds a whole lot more fun to the whole mechanic here. As you can see, just all these beams you can angle in to get to where you need it to be, and that's just really cool. But that is it for all the parts. Let's quickly jump over to the tracking station and have a look at a just monstrosity, there we are, words again, of a satellite I put up into orbit earlier with almost entirely parts from this pack, the one exception being the RCS engines and these solar panels. I was actually surprised there weren't any solar panels in this mod pack, but as you can see, we've got those awesome giant dish reflectors as well as some of the smaller ones with a multitude of different antennae pointing at it. We have the DL50 large spot antennas there, and oh boy, where'd I put the other ones? I don't remember now. I've got the really tiny ones pointing at the other smaller... Ah, there it is. Excellent. The FRA relay antenna feeds pointing at these dishes here. And just, yeah, I love the PLTO probes here. Again, it's just an unusual, cool shape to have that we don't normally see in the game. And these tanks that we can change between different resources as well as different structural elements is awesome. These little batteries are quite convenient for smaller probes. I do love the look of these micro-control movement gyroscopes, and plus, having that sort of reaction wheel control on your probes is a good thing, and it just allows you to make some fun new creations here in the game. So if you'd like to have a look at this mod for yourself, which I'd certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for today's episode, my friends. I hope you all have enjoyed and that you do come back for the next one. Hopefully we'll be looking at yet another wonderful mod. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.